One of the most frustrating things is losing out to your league mates on the waiver wire week after week after week. But what if you finally had the foresight to know exactly who to stash before your league mates even have the chance to roster those players? We're going to help you accomplish exactly that today. I'm Lucas Wentzel here with FantasyPros, bringing you my top 5 waiver wire stashes ahead of week 5 and next week's waiver run as well. Before we dive on into that list of players, though, we've got a special offer going on for you all. Unlock a month of Betting Pros Premium for free. Download the Betting Pros app today and use promo code FP1month. Get access to tools like the Same Game Parlay tool, the Prop Bet Analyzer, and the Prize Picks Prop Bet Cheat Sheet. Don't miss out on it. Try it free, 100% free for 1 month now, available both on iOS and Android. Alrighty, first player on our list this week is Miami Dolphins wide receiver Malik Washington, who is rostered in 34% of leagues. Now, this breaks my typical rule of only talking about players who are rostered in less than 30% of leagues, but these are unprecedented times after the Tyreek Hill injury, right? Dislocated his knee, tore multiple ligaments, including his ACL. His time as a Miami Dolphins wide receiver likely done. Debatably, his entire career, yet to see on that, but now all of a sudden, we're scrambling this year to figure out who is going to see the biggest bump in this Miami Dolphins receiving group. Now, I know Washington has yet to record more than 20 receiving yards in a game this season, but Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane can only become more involved until you need to get another receiver or pass catcher in this group touches. And I do think that player ends up being Malik Washington. In terms of what we see on like a snap share basis, I really wouldn't be surprised if it's actually Nick Westbrook-Ikine who plays more snaps as the second perimeter wide receiver alongside Jalen Waddle. That was the reality after the Tyreek injury in week 4. But on a per route basis, that's where I do think we start to see Malik Washington make more of his mark. Mike McDaniel, he's already been willing to give Malik Washington more of these manufactured looks. Washington currently leads all wide receivers with 8 carries this year. He's 6th of all wide receivers in yards after catch per reception as well. So if Mike McDaniel wants to keep things close to the line of scrimmage for Tua, that's where I do think Malik Washington can become an interesting option. At Virginia in 2023, his final year in college, Washington set an ACC and school record with over 1,400 yards on 110 receptions while leading the nation in forced missed tackles per attempt coming out as well. We know he can handle the volume. We know he could be a playmaker, and Mike McDaniel he's going to need more explosives without Tyreek Hill, right? That's just a simple fact. Again, I'm breaking the mold of these videos because I do think Malik Washington really should be rostered in more than 34% of leagues. To me, this should be much closer to 50%. If he is on your waiver wire in a deeper league especially, get him added. Even in like a 12-man league, I really don't hate throwing Malik Washington at the end of your bench. The second player on our list this week is Chicago Bears wide receiver Luther Burden, who is rostered in 28% of leagues. Now, I loved Luther Burden as a stash even before the season started because once we had that first spike week in the first 4 weeks, I knew he was immediately going to be the headliner of every single waiver wire video. And we got that in week 3, a 65-yard flea flicker touchdown, and majority expected that to be the catalyst for Luther Burden to get even more design plays in the coming weeks. Unfortunately, that hasn't happened, but what I also haven't entirely expected is that people are just going to throw in the towel so quickly on Luther Burden after having -4 yards against Vegas last week, and now he's going into the team's week 5 bye. All of a sudden, it feels like people are just willing to dispose of him. And I know 28% of snaps and 11 routes isn't exciting or even close to what you were hoping for with Luther Burden, but we could potentially get a rookie bye week bump here for him rest of the season. To me, it's only a matter of time before Luther Burden unseats Olamide Zaccheaus as the wide receiver 3 in this Bears offense. You can only trot out, in my mind, a wide receiver who's on his 4th team in the last 4 years for so long until you have to get your early second round pick on the field more often. And I also don't want to pretend that like DJ Moore is doing anything super special right now either. He only has 59 yards in his last 2 games. It's entirely been the Rome Odunze show, but I guess my point being is that Luther Burden still has a tremendous amount of upside here. And now I do want to be careful about how I talk about these numbers because it's such a small sample size, but through Luther Burden's first 4 games, he's drawing a target on 26% of his routes, and he's running 3.19 yards per route. That's the 3rd best of all wide receivers with 25 plus routes this year. Those to me are marks of a wide receiver who has a very high ceiling should he become more involved in the Chicago Bears offense. We knew it was going to take time with Ben Johnson implementing his offense. We knew there was going to be a lot of mouths to feed, but we also knew the talent was there with Luther Burden coming out. And considering Ben Johnson hand-selected Luther Burden with one of the team's second-round picks in the NFL draft this year, this is just a player I want to stay well ahead of the curve on and keep Luther Burden stashed while your league mates are willing to throw in the towel on him. Third player on our list this week is New Orleans Saints running back Kendre Miller, who is rostered in 26% of leagues. Every time I looked up at the Saints-Bills game on Sunday, it was Kendre Miller getting another tote instead of Alvin Kamara. He finished the day 11 carries for 65, nearly 6 yards per tote, 65 yards and 1 score on the afternoon. That was good for the running back 25 in PPR formats last week. And as I was watching Kendre get carry after carry, I was asking myself, where did this come from, right? Why are the Saints featuring him more this week? And going back and checking the advanced metrics on this game, like it wasn't hard to figure out why. Per Joel Smith, Kendre Miller was third in yards after contact per attempt in week 4. But even on the entire year, Kendre Miller leads all running backs with at least 25 carries in forced missed tackles per attempt. So we are finally starting to see those grinder between the tackle attributes we saw in his college profile coming out of TCU. I mean, the guy was 5'11", 215 pounds coming out. Like, this is a big dude we're talking about here. His snap share continues to rise each week, going from 15% in weeks 1 and 2 to 27% in week 3. And now in week 4, he was all the way up to 31%. Eventually, I think this plateaus out, but could his snap share reach 40, 45% here in the near future? Like, I absolutely think it can. The carries are rising with that number as well. 5 totes in the first 2 weeks, 7 in week 3, and then again, those 11 carries against the Bills in week 4. I'm not here to communicate the fantasy demise of Alvin Kamara in any capacity, but if you go in Google search, I found this fascinating. If you go in Google search, Alvin Kamara trade, you'll see that there is still plenty of speculation around contending teams calling the Saints for Alvin Kamara, who, like, let's just be honest, he doesn't need to play the rest of his contract on an 0-4 Saints team right now. And again, that is all like literally wild speculation. I don't want you to, I think I'm sitting here reporting an Alvin Kamara trade in any capacity, but I do think you have to consider that when making Kendre Miller a stash. There's nothing concrete out there, but when considering him as a stash, I think you have to at least acknowledge the upside for him to potentially lead this backfield should anything happen to Alvin Kamara, whether it is a trade or an injury. Next up on our list is Kansas City Chiefs running back Brashard Smith, who is rostered in 6% of leagues. Now, I talked about Brashard Smith last week. It was a suggestion that wouldn't pay you dividends in the near future, but hey, lo and behold, Matt Nagy, after week 4, has come out and said that he wants to see increased usage each week for Brashard Smith. And that might have actually already started in week 4. We saw his snaps jump from 11% to 26% this last week. He was given 8 opportunities this week, which is only 2 less than Isaiah Pacheco's 10 opportunities. But this is exactly what I talked about last week. Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, they're just extremely uninspiring, man. Even in a dominant win against a banged-up Ravens team. Isaiah Pacheco, only 7 carries. He did get 35 yards and a score, but Kareem Hunt, 13 carries for 34 yards. Why are we giving Kareem Hunt carries at this point, Andy Reid? Matt, what are we doing here, right? At some point, they have to look at this group of running backs and realize Brashard Smith just gives them the most juice. It's the great pass-catching chops as a converted wide receiver. It's the suddenness and changing of gears when he runs. He's dynamic once he hits the perimeter and the second level of the defense. I had brought up Isaiah Pacheco's rookie season last week as well, who also was a 7th-round rookie. He did have a strong week 1 in his rookie season, 62 yards and a score on 12 totes, but then immediately in week 2, returned to 9% of the snaps, 8% of the snaps in week 3, then all the way down to 3% of the snaps in week 5. It wasn't until after the Chiefs' week 8 bye that year when Andy Reid finally just threw his hands up, quit messing around, and said, fine, Isaiah Pacheco is probably the best guy we have here. Let's throw him on the field and see what happens. So based on Matt Nagy's comments, I feel like that's the trajectory we could already be on with Brashard Smith. I know the Chiefs don't have their bye until week 10, but they're going to need to keep ramping up Brashard Smith's usage if they want more juice out of this backfield, considering just how uninspiring Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt continue to be. The last player we'll touch on this week is Isaiah Davis, New York Jets running back, who is rostered in 5% of leagues. The driving factor in this stash is solely because of Braylon Allen's knee injury that he sustained on Monday Night Football. As of this recording, Braylon Allen is seeking a second opinion, but the team is already bracing for a stint on IR for him after sustaining what's reported to be a sprained MCL. Now, he only played 6 snaps against the Dolphins on Monday night. It was Isaiah Davis who stepped in afterwards and played 21 snaps to Breece Hall's 40, and even only with 6 snaps, Braylon Allen was still given 4 carries, and Davis only logged 5 opportunities the entire game. So I do think if you want to shift those Braylon Allen carries, maybe not entirely over to Isaiah Davis, but I think there's room essentially for Isaiah Davis to be this 10 to 12 touch player every game if the Jets don't want to give Breece Hall 25 plus opportunities each game with Braylon Allen out. Primarily, I do think we're going to get Isaiah Davis as the change of pace back, soak up a few receiving downs from Breece Hall, maybe take away 1 or 2 receptions as well. But really, you're stashing Isaiah Davis in case anything catastrophic happens to Breece Hall while Braylon Allen is out. So again, not while Braylon Allen is out, So again, not any major dividends expected to be paid on this stash, but in deep leagues, it is absolutely worth a speculative add, as we've already experienced this year, right? Injuries can happen on any given week. So I would rather be safe than sorry. Stash Isaiah Davis. Again, he's not going to be this fantasy brain buster while Braylon Allen is out, but at the very least, you're going to get a handful of opportunities every single game and insurance on Breece Hall. And there you have it, my top 5 waiver wire stashes ahead of week 5. Go sprint to your waiver wire right now. See if any of these guys are available. Again, except for Malik Washington, all of them should be rostered in less than 30% of leagues. So there's a good chance they're available in yours as well. Before we finally sign off here, hey, remember, we have got a special deal going on for you all right now. Unlock a month of Betting Pros Premium for 100% free. Download the Betting Pros app today and use promo code FP1month. Get access to tools like the Same Game Parlay tool, the Prop Bet Analyzer, and the Prize Picks Prop Bet cheat sheet. Don't miss out on it. Try it free, 100% free for 1 month now, available both on iOS and Android.